Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. It's 1 p.m., so we're going to go ahead and get started so that our presenter has enough time. I'm Suzanne Snyder. I'm the Mental Health Program Manager in Student Intervention Services at the Department of Education. So today we want to welcome Amy Starkey. She's going to present Remind Mindfulness and SEL practices for school and home. Just a little bit about Amy. She's worked in special education since 1999, serving as a school-based occupational therapy assistant for 14 years and currently providing telehealth therapy services for a pediatric therapy company based out of Greenville. She's an advanced children's yoga instructor, a certified trauma practitioner, and the founder of YogaToGo, LLC, a children's, teens, yoga, and mindfulness organization that provides both on-site and virtual trauma-informed yoga, social emotional learning, and mindfulness programs for K-12 schools, youth organizations, and private therapy clients. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Thank you for that. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for having me present for you today. I am so excited to be presenting these mindfulness and SEL practices for you for the summit. So as Suzanne mentioned, I've worked in both home-based and school-based occupational therapy for 22 years now. And I've worked with children from every ability level, age, diagnosis, and socioeconomic background you can imagine. I just want to share with you quickly a little story about how YogaToGo came to and how I got started in using yoga and mindfulness practices in the schools and with my clients. So while I was doing occupational therapy in a school district in Ohio, I had a student, a young child who was diagnosed with severe autism. And he was not happy about being at school, but he would come in every day and basically sit down, plop down in the middle of the classroom. And he sat there and he wanted nothing to do with anyone. He didn't want you near him. He didn't want to participate. And if you got near him, it was very probable that you would get hit or bit or scratched. So he was also very combative. So I'm always looking for strategies, fun and novel experiences for my clients, for my students, things that I can do to get them engaged in the occupational therapy session. And back in 2006, I had discovered yoga and discovered a children's yoga book. And I thought, why not? Let's just try it. Can't hurt to see if he'll, do this for us. So with the help of his amazing teacher and amazing teacher's aide, we actually were able to get down on the floor with him. And we showed him a yoga breath. That's where we started. And he did it. So we were just celebrating. It was very exciting and miraculous that this child engaged and he did this yoga breath. And we thought, why not try a pose now? So we introduced a pose to him and then he did the pose. And this was amazing. And every week when I came into that classroom to work with him and the other students, this child who was completely shut down, who wanted nothing to do with anyone, was starting to do yoga and was starting to do mindfulness and breathing and all these wonderful tools during the school day. So that's when the light bulb moment was for me, when I realized yoga can benefit everyone in some way, in some form. Yoga and mindfulness practices and mindful movement can benefit everyone. Okay, so that's just kind of the background. To let you know, this Remind presentation we're going to do lecture. I'll be lecturing for about the first 20 minutes. And then after that, we're going to get into our experiential practices. So I'm going to get up and I'll invite you to get up if you'd like. And we're just going to really get into it and do a lot of wonderful mindful movement practices for today. So hopefully that'll feel good after we've been sitting and engaging in the conference or the summit this afternoon. Moving on, again, as Suzanne mentioned, YogaToGo, we're a children's and teens yoga, SEL, and mindfulness organization out of Greenville. Therapist owned and operated since 2007, trauma-informed, self-focused, evidence-based, and very inclusive. So we really cater to special needs and underserved populations. Also, we specialize in school and out-of-school time enrichment programming. Our two biggest programs are Calm School, and this is a virtual and on-site yoga cell mindfulness program for K through 12 students. And then Calm Home, which I provide virtual yoga therapy services for children and their families. I also offer family and educator therapeutic consulting services, professional development trainings for educators and therapists, customized yoga and mindfulness videos for schools. And I also have an entire children's educational product line called the Remind product line for K through 5 students. And I can tell you more about that later. It includes mindfulness, flashcards, games, all kinds of wonderful tools to use in the classroom. Okay, so briefly, the impact of the pandemic on child and adolescent mental health. And I know I don't have to tell you any of this, but we know that COVID-19 was a crisis with enormous global impact that affected adults, adolescents, and children. It was classified as a mass traumatic event. We saw increased rates of depression, anxiety, PTSD, suicide, domestic violence, worsening in mental and physical health conditions, poverty, substance abuse, and family separation, with minorities and disadvantaged and marginalized populations put at the greatest risk. There were these disruptions in our routine and in the social isolation that resulted. This resulted in increased risk for anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues later in life even. So in October and November of 2020, parents reported that their children showed elevated symptoms of depression, anxiety, and psychological stress, with 22% experiencing an overall worsening in their mental and emotional health. Recent studies by the CDC find that children's emergency department visits increased during the pandemic, specifically for mental health related emergencies and suspected suicide attempts in children ages 12 through 17. All right. So moving forward now, how do we renew, reboot, and re-engage? Two ways. One, family and community support. We implement strategies specifically designed to build connection, to improve health, and to foster resiliency among educators, students, and families. And two, we utilize these stress management tools for home and school. We learn therapeutic, evidence-based coping tools that can be performed both at the home and school environment, in the classroom, to facilitate self-regulation. And what do we mean when we say self-regulation? What is that exactly? I'm going to go into that now. So self-regulation is the ability to effectively manage behavioral and emotional responses across various situations and demands. So for instance, your students are expected to come into the classroom to sit there, to listen, to engage, to learn, to do so not without being distracted, to really be able to focus. And students who are able to do that, they're self-regulated. That is not a problem. But then we have dysregulation. And when we're dysregulated, this is when we have the difficulty or an inability even to manage emotional and behavioral responses within a typically normal, acceptable range. So this is often leading to high emotional reactivity, emotional outbursts, called meltdowns, when we say a child is having a meltdown, or marked fluctuations in mood. That is dysregulation. It's typically a result of activation of the fight or flight, that emergency, that danger system in the brain. And when that's happening, we're going into sympathetic nervous system function that's turning that alarm system in the brain on. It's commonly experienced with chronic stress, trauma, developmental disabilities like ADHD or sensory processing disorder, and mood disorders. And it can significantly impair one's ability to achieve social and academic success. Okay. So let's do a side-by-side comparison here. What does self-regulation look like, and how would dysregulation look like? This is very important. Self-regulation, I love little acronyms. So I use the acronym CALM. When we are self-regulated, or when our students are self-regulated, they're calm. They're in control. They have self-control of their behavior, emotions. They're alert and they're attentive. They're listening and they're learning, and they're mindful. This is a happy brain. As you can see, a very happy, engaged student, a very happy, engaged brain. We're self-regulated. Now, on the other side, we have dysregulation. And how does this look? You can see this poor little brain here on the right is very frustrated, very dysregulated. Dysregulation may appear as hyperactivity or excessive movement. You may see emotional outbursts and meltdowns, high emotional reactivity, behavioral challenges such as acting out behaviors, impulsivity, defiance, seeking excessive stimulation and input. When I say that, I mean, this is the child who maybe is walking down the hallway and they have to just touch everything on the wall. They're touching the walls the whole time, or they're bumping and rocking and pushing the student in front of them and the student behind them. That's seeking excessive input and stimulation from a dysregulation standpoint. Okay. That the student is not retaining information. They're easily distracted. They're anxious. They're stressed. They're worried. They're maybe possibly aggressive or combative or violent. And we might even see shut down, disengaged, completely disengaged, withdrawn, under-responsive. That's called hypo-responsive as opposed to hyperactivity. They're hypo-responsive. So these are all characteristics of dysregulation, and you can really see how they would negatively impact learning and connection and behavior, both at home and in school. So how do we achieve our goal of self-regulation? How can we achieve self-regulation? Through mindful movement and mindfulness practices, through building our social emotional learning skills, through improving our mental, emotional, and physical health, through building resiliency that helps us navigate stress and trauma, and through the use of mind and body-based strategies for stress management, like the ones I'm going to teach you today. Experts recommend movement breaks every 15 minutes for ages 3 to 9 and every 45 minutes for ages 10 and up. And I know how difficult that can be in a classroom setting to provide movement breaks every 15 minutes for your students, and then also get them to regroup after that movement break and participate and finish your lesson. So mindful movement breaks are a way to provide that movement, that much needed movement for self-regulation in a way that's very simple, very positive, and very easy but effective to do. Mindful movement breaks offer these positive movement opportunities for children in order to help them meet their self-regulation needs. And our kiddos are really good at trying to meet their need for self-regulation. Unfortunately, it might not always be in ways that we would prefer them to. So when you have a student who's raising their hand, every hour on the hour, can I use the bathroom? Can I use the bathroom? Or one that's falling out of the desk, or, talking nonstop to their peers next to them. That student is really trying to meet their own needs for self-regulation. And when we incorporate mindful movement into the classroom, we help provide that self-regulation break, that movement break, in a positive, acceptable way. Okay. So we're not talking about just any movement. We're talking about mindful movement. And what do we mean when we say mindful movement? So mindful movement is any exercise such as yoga, tai chi, qigong, which I'm going to share with you today, that uses purposeful movements, slow intentional breathing, and mental focus, all for the purpose of achieving self-regulation. And the result of that is calming the nervous system, it's organizing the brain, it's helping keep us in that prefrontal cortex activity where we can learn for optimal learning, so where we're non-reactive, we're responsive, we're making good choices. It decreases anxiety and hyperactivity. It helps us to manage stress and difficult emotions. We improve our attention, our focus, and our body awareness, and we build better mental, emotional, and physical resiliency, all through mindful movement. There is a ton of evidence out there right now. This is recent evidence from studies in 2020, 2019, 2020, 2021. All of these are pointing to the positive effects, the pros of mindful movement for teens and children in the classroom setting and in the home setting. I'm not going to go through all these right now for our time's sake, but you are free to go through those later and just read through them. There are just so many positives, so many pros for implementing this into our classrooms and our homes. So some of the benefits I'd like to share with you about mindful movement in the classroom. These are simple but effective exercises, stretches, breathing, mindfulness techniques that can facilitate really optimal behavior, attention, and learning. They're easily implemented into the classroom setting. You don't need a mat. You don't need props. You don't need excessive time. You don't need to rearrange the classroom. These are tools you can use right from where that student is sitting. These are non-competitive exercises. It's physical exercise and movement in a non-competitive way that really helps to build confidence. These exercises encourage social emotional learning skills among peers. They can be done individually or as a group, as a class or a family. They're inclusive. They can be easily modified for students with special needs. And they're school friendly. So it uses a lot of just basically secular terminology. Also, mindful movement in the classroom is adaptable. And it's easy to teach in a virtual format, which is what I do. And I absolutely love this for a couple of reasons. First, there's a greater reach. I have such a bigger reach now that we are virtual. We're offering these things virtually. Everyone can just log in and join along. Before, with YogaToGo, we were just offering services at just school districts and all around the upstate. Now we're doing programs all over the place. I have programs in Ohio, schools, therapy centers, everywhere. So it's wonderful. It's a wonderful opportunity to really reach more students and families where they're at. And also the sessions are recorded this way. So your session might be recorded and then you can play that back and use that with your students or your children at home the entire week, the whole time before your next session. So it's been really wonderful. A lot of benefits to this. All right, how can we implement mindfulness into the classroom and the home in a way that is educational, that's meaningful, and that's fun for kids? And today I'm going to show you the Remind 3 Steps to Mindfulness method in order to do that. So Remind is an effective 3-step process. It uses fun and engaging mindfulness activities, breaths, poses, stretches, several different mind and body tools for building better focus, for improving self-regulation, self-awareness, and resiliency. It can be used one-on-one as a therapeutic or behavioral intervention strategy with a student or your child, or it can be used in a group setting. Your whole class or your whole family can participate. It's easily implemented into the home or classroom. And these practices, these mindful movement practices, can be used by all ages. They can be used by K through 5, teens, adults, all ability levels. And most importantly, they are trauma-informed. The Remind 3 steps are trauma-informed. They're self-focused, and these are therapeutic strategies that you can use for all of your students or all of your family. So before Remind, this might be a familiar scene to many of us. This is dysregulation. How many of you can relate to this poor teacher here on the left, ready to pull her hair out, the students acting up, everyone's dysregulated here. And then over here to the right, we have our families, and they are just, nobody's listening. Everybody's shutting down. This is truly a dysregulated picture here. And after Remind, after these Remind steps, after these Remind tools, we are self-regulated now. We've achieved self-regulation. So we have the educators, teachers, students, everybody's happy, learning, listening, attending, and there are families, everybody's just calm and connected. Okay. All right. So parents, educators, clinicians, one point that I really want to emphasize, self-regulation starts with us. We must be self-regulated. We have to self-regulate before we can help our children to do so, which is called co-regulation. So research shows that parental stress can negatively affect a child's emotional and mental health. It can harm the parent-child bond, and it can have long-term behavioral implications. However, mindfulness exercise in the home or at school can increase emotional and cognitive capabilities or capacities for the whole family. So basically, a stressed adult equals a stressed child, and a self-regulated adult equals a self-regulated child. Again, I love acronyms. They're very helpful to me to help me remember things. And I use the acronym SIS. SIS, I remind myself, hey, SIS, stay in self-regulation, or start in self-regulation before working with children and students. Okay, and it's also really important to note the trauma-informed language, the use of trauma-informed language for creating safety and connection, both in the classroom and at home. So a few statistics, according to the CDC, 1 in 7 children have experienced abuse or neglect in the last year. Several racial and ethnic minority groups are at greatest risk for having experienced 4 or more types of adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. Almost half of American children, 34 million under 18 years old, have faced at least one potentially traumatic early childhood experience. And more than 1 in 7 adults report past experience.
I figured it out. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, someone's got their mic on. Okay, so more than 1 in 7 adults report past exposure to these ACEs, such as abuse, neglect, violence, or parental incarceration. All right, so best practice based on these statistics, best practice tells us the use of trauma-informed language is important and necessary across the board. It's non-threatening, it's non-triggering, and it invites our children versus demands, okay? So very important to just use, I use trauma-informed language with all students, with all clients. And examples of this in invitational language, this trauma-informed language, would be, you're welcome to join me in this activity. I invite you to try this experience or this exercise. Maybe you'd like to try this breath. Feel free to stop if anything is uncomfortable to you. This is very inviting, safe communication, safe language, and it doesn't demand, it doesn't, force. So it's already going in, really creating a sense of safety when we use it. Okay, at this time, I would like to start, I invite you to stand up and join me for our mindful movement practices that you can do at home and in school. These are going to be done in standing. So if you'd like, if you're comfortable, feel free to stand up. I'm going to move my chair and stand up as well, and we can begin our practices. And Erin, I'm going to stop my share so that you can take over from here, if that's okay.
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
It doesn't seem to have stopped though.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there we go.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, and if you could flip to the next one, that would be great. Oh, I'm sorry, back one more, sorry. You had it, thank you. Okay, let's begin. So this is a remind practice number 1 for adults. As I said, we want to start with ourselves, start here, stay in self, or start in self. And we are going to go through the 3 steps of the process. So step 1, this practice is specifically for releasing stress. Step 1, we're going to check in. And this is where we notice, we just simply notice. So I invite you to notice your brain right now, your mind. Does it feel distracted or focused? And next, I invite you to notice your breath. Does it feel fast and shallow or slow and deep? Last, notice your body. Is it wiggly? Is it tense? Or is it relaxed? That's just how we check in. We just notice. You also may notice any emotions that come up for you right now, or your energy level, if you're high energy, you're low energy, or maybe you're just right, okay? Then we move on to step 2. We unwind and we remind. These are unwinders and reminders, these tools that we can do. So I'm going to share with you the first unwinder tool. This is called Stress Shake Off. It's my absolute favorite go-to. And you're just going to slowly and gently allow your arms to hang loosely at your sides and begin to bounce and shake. Just bounce and shake. All right, and while you do that, breathe in with the nose. Slowly, see if you can hold that for a few moments and then blow out with your mouth as you bounce and shake, releasing stress and tension from the body. Okay, and let's take another breath here, bouncing and shaking. And exhale, releasing stress. why I love this so much, it reminds me of what we do for children, for our infants. When you're holding a fussy infant, what's something we do? We bounce them gently. We might rock them, maybe do some tapping and patting to help soothe a fussy infant, to help soothe their nervous system. So this exercise, this shake off exercise, is the same principle. We are just soothing our own nervous systems when we do this. And you can do these tools as often as you want to. You can't overdo them, but for the sake of time, I'm just going through them maybe once or twice right now. Okay, so our next tool, now we're going to remind. We're going to use a remind tool, and this is called release and regulate. This is a Qigong practice. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is imagine something that might be stressful for you, a stressful event right now, maybe a thought that you're ruminating on, whatever it is, something that's bothering you right now. You're going to gently breathe in, picking that situation, that stressor up in the palms of your hands. And then on the exhale, pushing it away slowly from your body. Okay, let's do that together again. Pick up that distressing thought, event, situation, breathe in. On the exhale, flipping your palms out and pushing it away. Okay, one more time. Inhale and release. Good. Okay, we can always come back to that thought or that situation that we might have to deal with, but this gives us a moment to create a space of peace and self-regulation. And then we move on to step 3 of the process. We recheck. We check back in. Notice your brain now. Notice your breath, your body, just noticing. No wrong answers. I ask students, do you need more time right now? Maybe you need to go through those tools again, or are you ready? Are you ready to engage in the expected activity right now? Okay, Erin, if we could go on to the next practice, that'd be great. This adult practice is for calm and focus. So again, we would check in, brain, breath, body, just noticing emotions, energy level. And then we would move on to step 2, our Unwind Remind tools. So this one is called Pebble on a Pond. It's also a Qigong exercise. You're going to start with your hands flat down, like you're almost resting them on a table in front of you. And you're going to breathe in. As you inhale, you push the hands forward, bending the knees. Exhale, knees are straightened and hands come back to where we started. Okay, so let's do that together 2 more times. Inhale, pushing the hands out. And exhale, bringing them back in, straightening back up. And again, inhale. Exhale. And relax. Okay, Pebble on a Pond. Again, do as many reps as you'd like. You can't overdo this. The remind tool for this is centering breath. So here we're going to take the palms of our hands, place them palms up right by your navel. Okay, and the bottom hand, you're going to breathe in with your nose, bringing this hand and this arm up over your head. On the exhale, we pull the hand down through the center of the body like this. When you get to that other hand, we switch, breathing in and pulling down energy and calm. Okay, let's do one more on each side. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale, pulling that energy, that calming energy down through the center of the body. And release. Okay. From here, step 3, checking back in, noticing the brain, the body, the breath, our emotions. You know, are we ready? Do we need more time? Do we need more tools? Okay, those are 2 simple but effective adult practices from the Remind program that you could use. Okay, we're going to go on to practices for our kiddos now. This first practice is to help children release stress. So again, check in, brain, breath, body, asking them, are any emotions coming up for you right now? What's your energy level right now? Or is it too high? Is it too low? Or do you feel just right? Okay, we just want to be aware. We want to build awareness. We want to know what's going on in our bodies, self-awareness. We want to know interoceptive skills. What's going on? Are we in pain? Is there tension? Are we hungry? Are we tired? This step 1 is really to help children do that, to help them understand what's going on in their bodies and brains. So let's move on to step 2, the Unwind Remind tools. This is called Dragon Breath, and it's wonderful for releasing stress and especially for releasing a lot of anxiety or anger. So we're going to take our hands, clasp them together down here like this, and you're going to have the child breathe in. You say, let's pull up. This is dragon breath. So pull up your fireball. That's all of your anger or your anxiety. Pull it all the way up over your head. Lean back and blow it out like this. All the way down to the ground. All right, let's do that together again. Breathe in. Pull up your fireball. All that anger, anxiety, we pull it up. We lean back and we're going to let go of it like this. How? All right, that's a really fun one. Children really enjoy that one. It's very effective too. Next, we're going to get into our remind tool with this. This kind of brings us, we unwinded, we got rid of stress. Now we want to remind. We want to kind of get slower, get more mindful. So this is called balloon arms. This is a really good one for helping children be more mindful and to relax the body and get self-regulated. We're going to imagine that we have balloons tied to each wrist. And you're going to inhale. As you inhale, you allow those balloons to drift slowly up over your head, all the way to the top, reaching up as high as you can. And now pop your balloons, pop and exhale. Ha! Okay, let's do that together again one more time. Breathe in, allowing those balloons to rise up all the way to the top, nice and slow and mindfully. Pop your balloons, pop and exhale. Ha! Okay, very good for releasing stress and tension off of the body and out of the mind. Step 3, we recheck. How's your brain, your breath, your body? Just noticing. Do you need more time? Do you need more of those tools, or are you ready? Okay, let's go on to our second practice now, our second children's practice. This is a practice for calm and focus. So this is going to help children feel more calm and alert and engaged and ready to learn, ready to listen and learn. Brain, breath, body. Are we distracted or focused? Fast or slow? Wiggly or relaxed? Any emotions coming up? How's your energy level? Moving on to our unwind remind tools. We're going to do one called squeeze, freeze, drop. So here, you're going to have them breathe in with the nose, take a nice big breath in with your nose, and squeeze your whole body. Squeeze every muscle in your body. Hold it, freeze for 1, 2, 3, and now drop. Ha! Okay. What that does, that provides what's called proprioceptive input when they're squeezing their muscles so tightly. And proprioceptive input is very calming and organizing to the brain, to the nervous system. So let's do that one more time. Squeeze, breathe in, squeeze, freeze. 1, 2, 3, and drop. Ha! Releasing stress and tension. Okay. Going into step 3. Noticing your brain, breath, body. Do you need more time? Do you need more tools? Or are you ready? I do want to make a note. You see the picture here on the right. This is the entire Remind product line that I have. And you see the little guy here at the bottom. He's playing the Remind board game. So based on these 3 steps, I created an entire product line. And it includes a 52 card deck of flashcards that help you or your students or children walk through each of these steps. It helps them navigate these steps. And then also there's a dice game and a spinner game and a board game, all built around this Remind 3-step process. So if, it's kind of hard to remember, what are those activities? Or maybe I don't have time to actually do these mind and body activities. We have games and we have flashcards to help you and help your children do so. Okay, Erin, we can go on to the next slide, please. Now, this is an activity I created that adults and children could do together. So teachers and students, parents and kiddos can do this together to build mindfulness and connection and self-regulation. So again, check in, brain, distracted or focused, breath, fast or slow, body, wiggly, tense or relaxed, emotions, energy level. This is a great time to share with each other and build that rapport, to tell them how you're feeling, to hear how they're feeling. Okay, this Unwind Remind tool, first we start with our unwinder to release stress, and this is called elevator up, elevator down. So you can hold their hands, the child's hands, they're going to be in front of you facing you, or maybe you guys just want to press your palms together, and we breathe in, we go elevator up, we blow out, elevator down, bending the knees, coming down. Okay, let's do that again, breathing in, elevator up. You can even get up on your tiptoes if you want. Exhale, elevator down. You're doing this together, mirroring each other, building good connection here. Okay. And when we're doing that up and down, that down with the slow breath, that's very grounding, that's very centering. So it calms and self-regulates our nervous system. Okay. Next, you would move on to brain, breath, and body. Again, just noticing, do you need more time? Do you need more tools? Are you ready? How did that make you feel? Just checking in with each other. Okay? It creates so much connection. It's really a wonderful practice to use with your students or with your children. Okay, now I invite you to have a seat again. We are done with our standing exercises, so feel free to get back in your chair. And I will go back to sharing my screen. Thank you, Erin, so much for that. Let me find my PowerPoint. 1 second, please. There we go. Great. Okay. All right. So maybe you're thinking, it's just not feasible right now. There's some days I just can't get through even a 3-step process. No matter how quickly it is, it's just too difficult right now. So I've created what I call mindful minis and 1 minute to mindful. These are simple, but very effective, very powerful strategies that you and your students, your family can do in 1 minute or less to create self-regulation and to decrease stress, to manage difficult emotions, to really help us get mindful again. So we're going to go ahead and do these together. The first one is called brain buttons. So taking 1 or 2 fingers, whatever feels good for you, we're going to push a brain button that we have right up here on the top of our crown. And these are actually acupressure or acupuncture points, but I call them brain buttons. So this is CV20. And then we're going to push the acupressure point or the brain button, CV24.5, that we have right here in between the eyebrows. Okay. And you're just going to hold those points. If you'd like to close your eyes while you do this, you can. You don't have to. We're going to inhale slowly with the nose. As you're pressing those points, you can even do like a gentle massage on those brain buttons, on those pressure points. And now exhale slowly through the mouth. Good. Just noticing how that feels for you. Again, I encourage you, or telling your students if something doesn't feel right, please stop. Also, if something hurts, definitely stop. We can add calming sounds while we push on these brain buttons. So for example, we breathe in and we add the sound safe. We say safe, or peace, or calm. Okay, let's breathe in and say calm. Let's try that one together. Breathing in, pushing on your brain buttons. Exhale, and we say calm. Okay. The science behind that sound is amazing. So I use these words, safe, peace, calm, and shh, because they're very secular. But if you notice, calm sounds like Om from yoga, right? And what that does, the science behind this is that that noise, that sound actually vibrates the vagus nerve, the nerve that runs from brain, heart, and gut. It's our primitive, it's our ancient nerve, the oldest nerve in the body, and it's our alarm system. That's activated when there's danger. So when we are saying these sounds like that, Om or calm, we are vibrating that vagus nerve. And what happens when we do this, we switch the brain over from that stress state, that sympathetic nervous system function, into that peaceful parasympathetic nervous system function. So it's wonderful just by using those sounds. Sounds can do that. They're very powerful for us. All right, this next one is brain drops, one of my personal favorites. I invite you to take your fingertips, and it's just like raindrops, but I call them brain drops because they're very soothing to the brain. You're going to have your children give themselves gentle brain drops all over the top of their head, really just helping that brain to feel calmer, right? And we can do brain drops on our eyes, around our eyes, to help our eyes focus. We can do brain drops around our ears to help our ears focus, on our mouths so that we're speaking our best, on our throat, on our lungs, so that we can breathe our best. Just gentle, soothing brain drops, right? This one is called brain hug. So taking our palms, we're going to press on the sides of our head like this and give our brain a big hug, a big squeeze as we breathe in with our nose. See if you can hold that for 3 seconds. And now blow it out with your mouth, nice and slow. Okay, good. And then we'll take our hands and we'll put them on the front of our brain and the back of our brain like this, breathing in, taking a breath as we give our brain a hug. And exhale. Okay. Next, we have body hug. So just like it sounds, giving yourself a great big squeeze, a calming body hug. You can tell them to say, I have my students say, I love me. And that can be a little uncomfortable for some of us, right? But we really want to encourage cultivating self-love. If that's not comfortable, that's okay. We just say, give yourself a proud pat on the back. Maybe tell yourself, good job today, me, right? Lots of calming input here with this one. And the last mindful mini I have are called peace points. These are also acupressure points. I call them peace points. So I'm going to take 2 fingers. You're going to put them on the acupressure point L1. This is located right here below the shoulder, crisscross, pushing on those points just right inside of the shoulder area. That's lung 1 on each side. And it helps with anxiety. It helps to slow down the brain and the body, helps with anxiety. So let's take a breath here as we push on the L1 peace points. And hold that for a few moments if you can. And now release. Very good. Now we're going to go to the peace point GV17. That's at the center of your chest, right here on the sternum. You can press on GV17 also to calm anxiety and slow the brain and body down. Breathing in as you press on that peace point there. And exhale slowly. Good. And our last mindful mini peace point that I want to share with you today is called the perfect peace sign point. So basically, you're just taking your hands up here, you're making the peace sign, okay? And then you want to make sure that the pads of your thumbs are touching the pads of your ring and pinky fingers, like this. Make sure you're pressing on those points together. You're pressing those points together. And next, you're going to take your peace signs and glue them together like this, okay? Holding the arms up here at your sides. Okay, and let's just take a nice peaceful breath here. Inhale with the nose as you do this. Try to hold that for a few seconds if you can. And exhale through the mouth. All right, very good. So hopefully all of you feel much more mindful and self-regulated after these practices. I know we went through them pretty quickly. I just wanted to make sure I could share as much as possible with you guys. Here are some references. These are all the references from the PowerPoint, as well as a couple resources. You can see there's some websites I put in there that I find really helpful. And there again is the picture of the Remind product line, if you'd like to check that out. here is my contact information. This is the website, and the web store is on there, missamy'sYogaToGo.com. You'll see tons of information on our K through 12 programs, professional development trainings, and the web store as well. My phone number, my email, please feel free to reach out with any questions. I love hearing from people, so feel free if you have any questions about this presentation today. Yoga Chat on the Mat. This is an online community for parents and educators. I created it. It's a private Facebook page, but if you go to the link, you're welcome to join. It's just wonderful bringing so many of us together, offering lots of resources, asking questions, really just building a network where we can all connect. And lastly, I have Wednesday night workshops. These are virtual webinars I'll be offering all through October, every Wednesday night in October from 7 to 7:30 p.m. It's a 4-week series. This series is called Time and Toolkits, where every week you're going to get a new toolkit full of mindfulness tools that you can use to help your students, that you can use to help your children at home. So feel free to check that out and join us for that. All right, at this time, I am going to stop my share. Here we go.
Thank you, Amy.
Yeah,
So,
perfect. We have a good 5
perfect
minutes.
timing. So we'll open up for questions. So you can either put it in the chat, put your questions in the chat, or if you'd like to unmute and ask them, you can do that. We've got about 5 minutes for questions.
Okay, great strategies. I'm sure they're helpful for older students, but how do you get buy-in from older students? What a wonderful question. Thank you for asking this. So I've learned that when I present it as Qigong, which is the practice, it's the martial arts practice that you were shown today. Some of the exercises come from Qigong. When I present it from Qigong, particularly to boys and to teen boys, there's huge buy-in because they look at that as martial arts. And so there's a big interest there. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? I would be happy to answer them.
I actually have a question.
Great.
What's like the youngest age that you would generally recommend starting?
Yeah, so I've worked with ages 3 and up, but my school-based practice programs are 5 and up. You can do this with 3 and 4-year-olds. There are ways to do it. It's going to be a shorter session. You're going to, learn different techniques that you wouldn't use with a 10-year-old, obviously, but there are ways to modify it for younger kids. So I would say 3 years old is a good way to start. I do some daycare programs right now, virtual daycare programs, and all the children are 3 and 4, and they follow along wonderfully. So, yeah. Yeah, the teachers, we definitely need this. Teachers, therapists, parents, we need this as much as our students. Absolutely. Yeah. Again, I want to tell you a little bit more about the card deck real quick, the Remind process. So the card deck is wonderful. It's a tool I created, and I use it in my therapy sessions with my kiddos. So it's the 3 steps, and then it helps them. There's several cards with different emotions. It helps them pick what emotions they're feeling. They pull the cards and say, this is what I feel today. Maybe our kids are nonverbal. A lot of my kids are nonverbal. They have difficulty with communication. So it helps them identify, this is how I'm feeling. Some of our kids, all they know is, well, I'm angry. Well, what else? What's under anger? What else might you be feeling? So they pull all these cards, and then we say, okay, now let's pull our tools cards. Step 2, what do you need? What do you need to do? There's several options: quiet space, music, yoga, writing, whatever, get a snack. There's all these options that they can choose. I usually give them about 5 options during a session, and then we recheck. We go back and recheck. And what's so amazing about this is after you go through it with them a couple times, they get it. And you can say, grab your card deck and go figure out what you need, and they'll do it. It's been helpful in therapy sessions, especially. Yeah. Okay, we have a couple more minutes. Any more questions? Anything else you'd like to know? With the Remind products, with the product line, I do have instructional videos. I have links to videos that show you how the program works, that would show you how the spinner game and the dice game and the game board, all of these work. So if anyone's interested in watching those videos, I can certainly send you the link to that, and you're welcome to see this process in action. Right. Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. I love being here and teaching this.
And thanks everybody for participating. So you've got about, nobody has any more questions. You've got about 10 minutes till your next session. So you can take a little break.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Hey, Amy, nice to meet you.
Everyone take care. Thank you.